Him and his fucking dad and mom. I'm not gonna play in Quebec City. Hey, what a this fucking horrible day already. Anyway, although, you know, Quebec, they ended up winning the Stanley Cup in Colorado because of this guy. So they should thank him because they got Sakic, they got Forsberg, and they got Forsberg.
One of the great players in league history.
Who?
Eric Lindros.
Forsberg, Sakic?
Eric Lindros.
Kim,
Obviously,
overrated. He had the head.
For his conkeys.
Softest head in the world, man.
Softest hands for a big man,
Softest head, too. He couldn't wake up without getting a bloody concussion, man.
I'll be knocking you out here. And Mike.
Honestly, I'm not a huge Lindros fan either.
You think this is a Pittsburgh jersey. You have no idea. He thought a nice Penguins jersey when I walked in.
His mom, Bonnie, she was the worst. His dad was probably even the worst. He wouldn't go to Quebec. Right when he wouldn't put on that jersey at the draft means he's a bad guy. A bad guy.
You don't know what was
you
going
go
on
where
in
you're
his
supposed
life.
to go. You go like a good Canadian
The
kid.
Legion of Doom.
Leclerc was
Well,
better.
I mean,
yeah.
Leclerc was not a better player.
Yeah, he was
than
a better
Lindros.
player, yes.
No,
And he
wasn't.
went where he's supposed to go. He honored the tradition of the NHL.
Size, power, speed, hands,
Dumb,
vision,
soft,
toughness.
soft,
Eric Lindros, the Big E.
Soft, anti-French.
Scott Stevens
Why
got the
wouldn't
best
he go
of
to
him.
Quebec? The worst. The worst.
Hey, can we start?
I like Pavel Bure.
Yeah, me too.
The best.
We can all agree on that.
He went where he was supposed to go.
We are live, everybody. But we are also on tape. We are deeper down in the bowels of Lee's Music. Episode 88.
88.
Of Kamloops last week. We just had the big debate. It's on camera, so you know you don't like Lindros. I do. So what else about 88? Actually, first of all, Christopher Folds, Greg the engineer, Bennett, Magic Mike, and Bill. A full house.
I was actually thinking of Lindros last night when I knew his 88 show, and because he was a notable player, but also in the political realm, 1988 is very notable in that it was the year Brian Mulroney and the Progressive Conservatives were elected to their second landslide majority. 4 years later, they only had two left after that election. Chrétien won, or 5 years later. Anyway, 1988 was the last time Canada had a progressive conservative government, because the conservative government now is nothing to do with the progressive conservatives. They faded into the night.
Why did it collapse so quickly in that time frame?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, most governments have a shelf life of 8 to 10 years, and they're very popular. And then after about 10 years, they just fall apart. If you look at it, in BC, the Liberals after 16 years. Before that, the NDP had 10 years. Right now, the NDP in BC is probably at the end of their shelf life. I think the GST killed Mulroney and them because he brought it in much to the chagrin of a lot of people.
And you don't like GST on gas, do you?
Well, it's a tax on a tax. It's ridiculous, and it shows the hypocrisy of all the governments. You'd have the Liberals in opposition saying it shouldn't be there. When they get in, they keep it because it's a revenue generator, right? Jean Chrétien, much as I loved his term, he promised to kill the GST when he came in, and what happened? He kept it.
Mike probably got taxed on his gas all the way to California. You were in California, right?
I was in California at the NAMM show, the big music show of the music industry.
The award in person down there, didn't you?
You know what, you guys? I don't ever blow hard or do anything too much, but yeah, look at that puppy. Oops, it's backwards. Yeah. Acoustic guitar of the year. Yeah. There's the hardware. We got it at the show.
There's a video on your Facebook page that shows you getting it and then having a little impromptu speech in the bowels of the Anaheim
I tried to take a moment with Christian, the publisher, but he wasn't having the moment.
Yeah. It was good.
Mike tried to doctor one of his quotes too. He got interviewed, and then he's like, "Let me have a look at that quote before you publish it."
No, I sent them the quote, and I said, "Hey, massage it if you want. Just send it to me for approval before you publish it."
That is the Magic Mirror. It's brought to you by Volkswagen. We have a great show today. There it is. Reader's Digest. He just gave you an impromptu call. He's talking to people on the streets.
The mayor just called and he wants to know where we're at. And I said, "You're on the show in 15 minutes. He says, "Well, I'm outside of City Hall right now talking to some people on the grass by the picnic tables." And he wanted us to send a reporter down. I said, "What's it about?" They're homeless people who have stories to tell. So he's still out there working the streets.
We're recording?
Yeah. I just realized that's what you're asking.
We also have Jessica Wallace. She's a mom. Years of hardship, lost pregnancies, and she's bringing in her baby today.
Little Joe.
Little baby Joe.
Yeah.
Big Baby Joe.
Jessica's on, she's a reporter with KLW, for those who don't know, and she's on maternity leave for, she's taking the full 18 months.
Just getting ready to go on Kamloops Last week. Youngest guest. That's my prediction.
So there you go.
And we bow to no sponsor on this show.
Never.
Never.
No.
That's why we're having Terry
High
Lowe.
integrity.
Yes.
Terry Lowe of Volkswagen of Kamloops coming on our show today for a good cause. He's going to talk about the VW Turtle Race, KLW's 100th, the Pickleball Challenge. Wednesday, August 2nd, we're going to do it. Looking forward to that. Details to come. Referendum. Have you heard about this, Mike?
No.
Potential?
What's going on? Oh, no. Oh, in Kamloops.
Yes. Potential.
Kamloops. Yeah, we got some money, I see. And
This is different.
This is different, but it's on the front page of the newspaper today and online at KamloopsThisWeek.com. In the past few years, in 2015, they had a referendum for an art center, and it got defeated by the voters. So they came back again in 2020 with a revised thing, and they thought it might pass, and then the pandemic came and canceled that. So there was no referendum held. So now, and I think this is based on the suggestion by Councillor Mike O'Reilly during the campaign last year. He suggested, and others may have, but I remember he suggested, why don't we take everything we want to build, put it into one big referendum and have people vote on it? And apparently, that's going to happen this fall.
So we could be seeing that as early as this fall. Residents to vote on borrowing millions for infrastructure projects, the Performing Arts Center, ice rinks, leisure pool in North Shore, curling club facility, RCMP detachment, civic administration building. So how do you figure out?
Well, it could be, it probably won't be all of those, but those are just some of the ideas that are coming out of this brainstorming session that the city is looking at. They've created this fund called Build Kamloops, where they put $4 or $5 million into it, the money they got from the government, provincial government. And they're looking at the future. They're looking forward, which they should be doing. It's a good idea to say, where are we going to be 10, 20, 30 years from now? What do we need 10, 20, 30 years from now? You know, what don't we need? So they're going to look at that. They're going to have a bunch of meetings. It's likely going to happen in the fall. It's not guaranteed, but they're looking at trying to get a referendum where instead of going every couple of years and trying to convince the people, they're going to go forward and say, look, we need an art center, we need a new arena, we need a curling club, we need this and that. We think it's going to cost, $300 million now. We'll pay it off over 30 years. Every day we wait, it's getting more expensive. We'll see if they can convince the electorate.
But how do they figure out which of those projects go into the referendum?
Well, the council figures that out. How they figure out the rec master plan. They'll probably have public meetings. They had public meetings for the rec master. A lot of this is based on the recreation master plan, and that was devised. That's a plan that says what do we need, in most important to least important, and they have a list, and they got that through a bunch of public engagement sessions. So the public said, and the top of the list is an art center.
I'm guessing, I know how you would vote on that, Mike.
I think they should have more music things going on there.
And that might be part of it too. The art center might have that. If there's an art center, I mean,
Lesson schools.
everyone knows we need more ice because the ice time. People like to play hockey and figure skate and all of the other stuff. The curling clubs you've written extensively about that. We have 2 curling clubs in town, and they're talking about building 1 super club somewhere. So it's interesting.
2015, Art Center voted down.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to happen again? I mean, I look at Facebook comments are not the be-all end-all, but I look again right away. How can we afford this? I don't know if there's a tax rate hike. Should that factor into the way people are thinking about the debt?
No, they shouldn't, because our tax rate, the tax increase this year is 7%. But you got to remember, it comes off of a 0%, almost 0%, because of the pandemic. We've had historically about 2% this century every year. Every single city in BC is looking at 5, 6, 7, 16, 17%, just because we're in a unique situation. Inflation, the pandemic, it's going to come back down to probably 3, 4% going forward. Remember this, though, for all those people who say, oh, I'll just fix the potholes, we don't need anything else. Those are probably people who don't have any hobbies, don't have any culture hobbies to go to. They don't care about all they care about is to work, drive on smooth roads, go home and grumble about something. Because all they do is grumble. It's easy to tear something down. It's harder to build something up. And for those people, remember this. Riverside Park, Mac Island, Riverside Coliseum, which is the Sandman Center, and the TCC, those are all built by referendum. If these people ran the city back in 1980, Riverside Park would be nothing right now. It would be a bunch of old cabins because we can't afford to build the park here. You got to have vision.
Squash court should be on the list.
Squash court should be number 1, and racquetball courts.
Okay.
Together.
Also, the city's saying, and they put the chart out there, our debt load lightning supposed to over the next 10 years?
Yes. You know, when we went to a referendum in 2015, I think it was 2015 for the PAC, the city's debt was $120 million that we're paying off stuff like the arena, like TCC, everything. Right now, it's half of that. It's $60 million right now. So that's pretty good for a city this size. That's how much debt we have when we're servicing. We're paying interest on that. According to the calculations, we can go up to $230 million in debt, I think it is. So we have a lot of room. And that doesn't mean you should. It's like your household. Like I could afford to have a line of credit up to 50 grand, but I can't afford the payments or I don't want the payments. But the city could and keep functioning without massive tax increases to go into debt for $230 million because you're not paying that off right away. You're paying off in a staggered amount over the years.
Just so, what would the grumbly, uncultured citizen? What would their argument be? Why should we? Like, what are the dangers of plunging into?
Well,
into
because
debt?
you will the taxpayers will be paying for it as part of their yearly tax increases, and you might have 1 or 2% extra per year going forward, just like you would if you said instead of that we're going to pave all the roads in the city. So it depends on what you want to spend your money on. I guess that comes down to this: you're going to get a tax increase every year. It's going to increase every year. Why not get something for that rather than just the basics?
You know, there's another play too. Is if you have these amenities here that people are going to come, you're going to attract things.
Yes, and theoretically, you're going to get more revenue if it's a city-owned facility, and theoretically, your taxes might be mitigated because of that.
But even if you have a better performing arts center, more things for people to do, businesses will come here.
Yes.
Maybe they should invest in more commercial space.
Tim Schultz,
that would be a good
our former our former boss, Tim Schultz, who runs the Thompson Region family doctors, who's trying to get more doctors here. He has said, and others have said, that they've talked to doctors, and one of the number one amenities doctors want concert halls, they want art centers, they want to be able to enjoy themselves like they do in other cities. In 2003, was it 2003? No, when 2003 when they did the tournament capital referendum where they built the TCC and everything. One of the opponents in the paper back then, he wrote to the paper and said, Kamloops trying to become the tournament capital center of Canada is like Sudbury, a mining town, trying to get a referendum to become the opera capital of Canada. This guy never thought we'd ever be a tournament capital, and look at us now. That's all we are.
We bring a lot of stuff coming to Kamloops just because of what we have.
Yes,
absolutely.
And back then they thought, well, how can Kamloops be a sports capital? Well, it happened.
Just not squash tournaments.
Right.
Us three. We were, you had just gotten back from your big award weekend.
Super tired.
You were tired,
First thing I wanted to do was go to McDonald's, get a cup of coffee. I usually get lattes, but I went straight black this time.
And I'm sure you had a chicken Big Mac too, get that energy up.
Well, you know what's interesting? I gotta say, the chicken Big Macs in the United States, which don't exist in the United States, are totally different when I force them to make me one than they are here.
They were turkey, right?
And you were still reeling because I don't know if you saw last week's show, but we talked about your weightlifting experience when I threw a chicken Big Mac at your face and the weight fell on you. So how are you doing after that?
Yeah, well, as everybody that knows me knows, I don't have a lot of upper arm strength. I'm like a forklift for loading speakers into trucks and stuff. But this is like Tyrannosaurus Rex.
So you wouldn't be able to be hired by Gords, who are hiring for delivery people.
They need some guys.
They need some bulked up people. But what were we doing though last weekend? What did we go and do together?
You know, it's such a haze for me, but I followed you guys around quite a bit. And it was just getting ready for the spirit of the Memorial Cup. We wanted to go and visit all of the roads that were named after famous hockey players, like Mark Recchi Way.
That's right. We're in Mark Recchi Way, and we went
we
went up to Howe Road, Gordie Howe Road, up in Aberdeen. There, it was still a little snow on the ground too.
But you wanted to drag race VWs on Mark Recchi Way,
yes.
And you were so fatigued from your trip, and you were slippery hands from your Big Mac. So off road he went, and
oh yeah, then we had to luckily the car went right toward the Red Bridge, going to damage an icon, but someone had left a ceiling mattress there.
Which is
it was amazing.
Thing.
It was amazing. No damage to nothing. Yeah, that was great.
So you had money left over to go and buy a Kamloops-wide Dream Home Lottery ticket, a 4-pack you probably
Bryce.
bought. From Bryce Herman.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to win.
That home valued at $1.3 million, 2197 Coldwater Drive in Juniper West. 2,407 square feet, modern mountain home that takes advantage of the most stunning valley views. An additional $224,000 up for grabs. What would you do if you won $224,000?
I'd probably invest in the BC Lions and become a silent partner with Hamar
Mark
Doman.
Doman.
I was at the Dream Home last week. They had a sponsors, I think KTW is a sponsor, so they had a sponsors night. And Jeremy Knisha was singing. And people from the CHBA were there, and with the Riverside, yeah, it was with the Riverside guitar, and they mentioned that actually in their little speech. And Colin Reid, this YMCA CEO, he had a speech and a tour around here. They had some nice food going on from Uptown Caterers, I think, from Romeo's. But it's a really nice home, and I talked to Bryce, and he's going to be on the show next week.
It's 10:45. His worship is just outside the door, so we're going to bring him in. It's Kamloops Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson in Reader's Digest. It's brought to you by Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. They service what they sell. Don't want the 9-hour cycle, please! Friggin' $500 hydro bill, piece of trash. I need to speak to Gord on the 9er.
Hey, no, I'm actually Steve, the new owner.
First things first, pal, you should probably update your sign. Number 2, my dishwasher is tangled again. The 9-hour cycle, hydro bill through the roof. You guys don't fix appliances, I know that, so I need a new one.
We actually do fix appliances, but if you want, I can try some new ones first and have a look. You got a price in mind?
Money is not an obstacle for me.
Money's definitely an obstacle. He's the cheapest guy in Kamloops. Ain't that right, Darby?
Well, this here is going to be your Cadillac model, top of the line. This is our middle of the road dishwasher, just a great dishwasher at a great price. This is our budget friendly model, still a great dishwasher, just at a bit of a lower price.
Price doesn't work for me. Let's see if you can fix mine at home.
Alrighty then. There you go, seems to be good. How's the fridge working?
The fridge is fine, Gord.
It's Steve.
I picked up the phone from security, West Victoria Street. I work for BC Housing, the senior project manager.
Yeah.
You got the ball rolling for me. You don't get a team out right away? No, you.
No.
Now here's from back in 2020, I'm not sure why you would get up at 4 when there is paid security right on your property. I'm not sure why you would be patrolling the streets.
I don't see what your deal is here. Like all I said is
My
that
deal is that you didn't believe what I said.
no, I never doubted for a second that maybe you had an interaction that started some kind of initial security. But the reason we have security now on West Victoria Street is because we pay $300,000 a year for it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not confirming.
Pay a little less because I dug into it.
Okay.
So our portion, it started with me picking up the phone and couldn't use my property in 2019. He said, Reid, here's my card. If you have any problems, call me.
So you might have been responsible. I can't confirm or deny that for
Reid, I'll
starting the
get a
ball
key on it right
rolling
away.
on some kind of temporary security right at the time. But
No,
that's not why it's
no,
perpetually
listen,
here,
I'll
though.
tell you what it was. It was from 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning. And then it was extended through the city and CMHA. So the city, BC Housing, and CMHA were paying for security. Okay, so it wasn't temporary. The security was always on our properties for 2 years, on not only my property, but Spoken Motion's property. Buildings there,
But
you could park there.
you were clear. There was no conflict. It's all done.
But I was under investigation over this.
Right, but it was done.
Of
Arguing with me all the time.
yeah, I know it's good arguments.
But I'm just telling you, I'm just trying to prove what's.
Best. It's the best.
I'm gonna find some pictures of you.
Still hates the intro video. Kamloops Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson. Let's talk now. You've just been busy this morning. What's been going on?
Well, I was just down in front of City Hall because there's a group of people hanging out there, and I went down and started talking to them, and they'd tell me about how bad they're, how things have been in some of the shelters in town. And also, one girl that was there was trying to revive a girl by the name of Renee White, who passed away inside of a shelter up at the bus depot last year. And so I just got on the phone with the RCMP, and there's going to be somebody going down there to figure things out. But I actually, last year I got a letter. I was supposed to send a letter out to a family that's daughter died of an overdose or poisoning. And
that drug poison, fentanyl.
And I didn't just sign the letter. I picked up the phone and called the person, talked to the dad first a little bit, and then I got a hold of the mom. And she came into town the other day. They're from Alberta.
Yep.
And their daughter, Renee, passed away. And about a month ago, I was going through a shelter, camp up on Schubert Drive, and I ran into a couple down there, and the one girl, when we were talking about Renee, she broke down, started crying, and she hung out with her for about a week. So, anyways, the other day I took the mom, Louise White, down there and her daughter, and she wasn't there down at the camp, but another person was, and then gave me a number, and then they were in Brockler, so I went out and they met each other and had some tears, and she told them what happened inside the shelter, so there's probably some new evidence there of what happened.
And the reason like they're separated, the mom and dad, but the reason the parents of Renee are in Kamloops and they're actually traveling all across. Her father stopped by the newsroom yesterday, and they gave me a card. It's at work, and it's the picture of Renee, and it's like their goal is to convince the powers that be. And I told them, you got to call your MP, because it's federal government. They want harsher sentences in court for those convicted of selling fentanyl. And I mentioned to him that Kamloops, it has the distinction at the courthouse of having the longest sentence handed to a fentanyl dealer a couple years ago, 3 years ago, it was 8 or 9 years. They want longer because they want people to say, if you're selling fentanyl, you know now that it kills people, the sentence should be much greater. And I agree with them.
Drug supply too. You were looking into the drug supply of this particular situation too? Did I hear that as well?
Well, no, what happened, this girl was telling us the story yesterday about her being there, and some guy, she mentioned the person's name, so she knows names, and same as the girl that I just ran into in front of City Hall at the picnic tables. A guy gave her a line of something, and apparently right there, and then she didn't die outside. She died inside the
and you're
shelter.
hoping that this information might lead to someone getting arrested and charged in connection with the death.
Yeah, you bet. Because it's. I mean, what do we got? We got 18 order. I think since 2019.
We have 18 this year.
18, but
18,
I think since 2019, I think last year we pretty much tripled the overdose deaths.
92, which is the most ever in Kamloops last year. Yeah, it's a horrible situation.
Yeah. So I think we got to deal with it and start.
I think they should. I think if you're knowingly selling or caught with fentanyl, and there's a lot of people being caught, you should be thrown away. And people say you can't put people in jail forever. Well, that's one less person selling poison and killing people. I think it should be. I agree with them.
At least start charging them.
And
let's start.
The sentences are the big thing, because they need to be told this is not going to happen anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I think we learned some. Just over the last couple of days, we've learned a lot of new information about that particular case, and that's inside of a shelter. I mean, I know a lot of stuff's going inside some of these, and it's Kamloops, the CMHA shelters, and we've got. I mean, since 2020, we've pretty much been asking for reviews of the shelters, and for the people, for the residents and clients,
but sometimes
for the staff and for the surrounding community.
But one of the best shelters, and council was told, and council agreed, one of the best run shelters this past winter was the one at the Kamloops Alliance Church, run by the mustard seed in the church. But even they were at council yesterday, I think.
I was there.
Yeah, and they had 3 overdoses there. I mean, so it's something that happens sometimes, even the best intentions, right?
But you don't get 400 emergency calls.
Well, what I'm just saying is, if this poor girl died in the shelter at the bus depot, sometimes no matter what you do, people are going to use inside anywhere. I'm just saying, you can't.
See, the mustard seed one, you're not allowed to use there.
No, but they did have a couple of overdoses
but you take out of the cold, it's operated very well.
It is.
Okay, you take the mustard seed, the one that the mustard seed operated very well. Okay.
Your argument is CMHA is not operating as well as those other two, and they should be brought up to standards. Okay.
That's right. They need to be accountable, and again, that's why I ran for politics to have accountability.
Sure.
I think that we need to do it. I mean, I just talked to a guy, Leo, and he'll talk to you guys. If any media wants to talk to the people on the streets, they're willing to talk. They don't get re-traumatized. If you sit and talk to them, they will tell you the story. And Renee,
I'm not sure. You just mentioned when you walked in that you haven't got our newspaper at your doorstep for 3 days.
I didn't want to tell everybody that because you might have some people that pay
you said for 3 weeks, and we have some carrier issues. But the fact that you keep saying you guys should talk to them tells me you haven't read our paper in 10 years, because we.
Well, it's very spotty. I don't get it that often.
No, but I don't know of any media outlet in town that has covered the homeless population and talked to the homeless population as much as KTW.
I know, that's right, and that's why after this, what are you doing after this?
I got work to do. I'm going back to work.
But this could be big stories, man. Aren't you a news?
Yeah, we are a news.
So let's go down and talk to the people on the streets.
Who hasn't done that for like 30 years?
Okay, let's switch topics.
My
here.
goodness, there's other stuff happening you have to work on, right? I got a magazine going to press this afternoon. We got City Hall stuff to
I
cover.
got a guy right here. He's had so many crimes, just like myself. We got to deal with
I
that
did see
too.
a bunch of glass shattered outside.
Yeah.
Right up the road,
What's
yeah.
out there? I had to drive around it.
I don't even know what's going on with that. I stopped asking. So
Yeah.
Okay, referendum. We're hearing we could be gearing up for one. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard myself personally of a referendum, but I've with all this stuff like a referendum for, you mean the art center?
So the front page of today's paper, if it lands on your doorstep, hopefully,
Probably won't.
it has. Referendum this fall is quite possible, and we have Bill Sarai talking about what the idea is that council has been talking about, which is to group everything together in the Build Kamloops Fund, which kind of stems from the Rec Master Plan, to say we need all this stuff rather than go back every couple of years to the people saying let's art center, let's do it all at once and see if they'll vote.
They're talking
for
about
it.
ice rinks, leisure pool in North Shore, curling
Yeah.
club facility, RCMP detachment, civic administration building.
Yeah. See, in my, and early on, I mean, everybody thought I was against the art center, but I was a
you're-
member of the Performing
Yes,
Arts
yeah,
Society. But no, I said right from the get-go, I want to go big, and not. We keep talking about borrowing money. I mean, we've just talked to a couple of ministers federally and provincially that grant money.
Yeah,
I
the story
think
mentions
we need to
yeah.
get a lot of grant money,
Grant
but we
money,
got to
yeah.
focus on what we want. And I think the same way. I think big, combined, big, but I don't think we have a location yet that I know of. Do you guys?
No,
know of
it's
that?
all in the still working stage, and
But-
everything would be in different locations. Or it would be.
Well-
You're talking about this one huge
Well,
thing.
well, in an area, I
Yeah.
spent a couple hours before the going to the UBCM summit, housing summit. I spent a couple hours with a friend of mine who does some development in Chilliwack, and he drove me around Chilliwack. I don't know if you've been there lately. On the north side of the highway.
new curling rink down
the,
there.
the curling rink. They've got all within the same vicinity, so that the parking is all. It's huge. They got a hockey rink there.
Yep.
They got arts. They got some agricultural. And I think that we really got to take a good look at that. And I
Maybe a
think,
good thing to
but the
look and emulate that.
Yeah, and I think that we got to look at it and like I say, go big with a lot of federal and provincial funding.
What
grant
about
money.
borrowing millions? Would
Well,
you be
I'm not a big. Unless you got to borrow, I'm not a big borrow.
Yeah.
But you'll
guy
have
myself.
to borrow. You'll have to borrow.
I'm sure you're going to have to, but we don't want to lay this on the the door of the taxpayers. The whole thing. I mean, sure, we're going to have to, but we haven't built a rink in how long or.
Yeah.
What do we
all
need
that.
most, you think, of those things? What's top of list for?
Well, it all
for you?
depends who you are.
But what about you? What do you think?
Me, I was with minor hockey back years ago, and we needed ice then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think hockey's a big thing. I think I think we need a lot of it, and I think that we've got to do it right. I think we can't do it. Even you take interior savings there right now. Okay, I mean it was okay when they didn't have all those condos built along Mark Recchi Way. Okay, but now all those condos are built. All the parking is taken up there. So when you get minus 10 or 20 or minus whatever, and it's a half an hour walk to the hockey rink. It doesn't matter how good the team's going to be. There's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to want to go.
Side note, why is that construction going on right now on Mark Recchi Way when we just had the Scotties and the Memorial Cup? That one whole exit is blocked off by that construction.
Oh,
and
it's
it's
been-
still going
It's going to
on.
be. It's been the year it's supposed to get done last year.
That's a railway related.
Yeah, I know. I was
now?
talking about that at Mount Paul this
Yeah,
morning.
that's been
having
there forever.
breakfast.
It's why now Memorial Cup? Everyone
It'll be
come
done.
to come all across
Well, it
the
was supposed to
country.
be done.
I think it'll be
earlier.
done.
It's supposed
It
to be
looks
done
to me.
earlier.
I drove by the other day. It looks to me like it's getting.
I hope
close.
it's done in time for Memorial Cup.
It's a
'cause
never
I
ending
think it. I think it is.
Yeah.
The other thing needs to be done by Memorial Cup. I mean, on Saturday I didn't go to the hockey game, but here I was. I'm getting messages from people. Pictures of a TP style tent over top of one of the picnic tables right in front of City Hall with a bunch of people there, right? And people are sending me pictures, and so I go down there and. Talked to them and, found out one lady from Nova Scotia, she was staying at the Emerald. This one lady from Penticton, she had no place to stay, but found out that there was room in the Emerald and all that stuff. But if we,
You brought this up at City Council yesterday.
I did. And, when I get lashback from, looking at a motion to put forward to get 15 outreach workers paid for by the province, through this, even Kelly, Kelly Thompson said yesterday, like George is the only guy out there.
Yep.
And I talked to George the other day, and he's a lonely guy out there. Yep. And when I'm asking for 15 outreach workers, and it gets turned down completely, and then the next thing I hear, we've got 25 outreach workers on the street. Well, Well, where are they? Where are they? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I down talking to people, learning about stuff? And I think that we can learn a lot from the people on the street. So,
Switching gears, council, you've been accused of belittling, among other things, and you've asked for evidence and proof. What's the latest there?
well, I got to tell you one thing, Marty. When you guys were talking, I did watch you guys a little bit, and you said, well, it could be worse than that.
Yeah.
Well, Marty, if it's worse, there should be some charges laid, shouldn't there?
Hey, I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm saying.
No, but if somebody makes an allegation and it's worse than that,
Yeah.
shouldn't this be a foul? Like,
I mean,
this has got to do with, you know what? This has got to do with something that shouldn't be in council. It's got to do with issues with a family that has issues, and I don't want to get into it. It'll all surface. I got well documented.
Did you belittle anyone or send any
No.
messages that are offside that you think that are going to be getting you in trouble?
No.
No. And you want people to back it up then. Folds is backing you up.
I know. Thank you.
I've said that.
Thank you. You did say that. And you said,
that.
Marty, well, how would you like it if? And Marty go, well, it could be worse.
Reid, I have
well, Marty,
to-
if it's worse,
I have to
how
do my
about
job.
if I call you that? How about if I do the
I would
same
come
thing?
forward and say it, but I have to do my job too, right? I have to represent what people are saying out there too. And because no one's coming forward and saying anything, all I'm saying is we don't know what the truth is.
It could be worse.
I play devil's advocate a lot.
Could be worse.
And it could not be as
and
bad.
it could,
We don't know.
It could
And
be.
that's
So
the
could's the
point.
key word. I didn't say it is.
But if I'm saying if it is worse, then why isn't there a file open? Like if I'm a whatever I could be.
We don't know if there's a file open or not. There could be a personnel file that we don't know about. We don't know.
Sure.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Eight people stood up and have basically accused you. I mean,
Yeah.
So I could see why you'd be upset.
Yeah. Because Katie.
Well, you guys have asked what.
Well, I've asked. We've
you guys
asked
are the
many
media,
times.
maybe you
No,
could-
we've asked, and they're not
You
going
don't
to
think
talk.
I have?
They're not going to talk, and I think that was wrong too. I think when
especially when by the way, you can't talk about it because we're in a closed meeting. Really? Well, is the door half open or half closed? What part of the meeting are we talking about? You're talking about that part. It's a closed meeting.
When I asked
So if you're talking about something outside of closed, which was crossing personal boundaries and professional boundaries, harassment,
belittling.
Yeah.
belittling, if that all happened in a closed meeting, why is it out in the public?
I think it's hard for some people to believe that 8 people would come forward and there'd be no truth to it. So it's my job to ask the question. And
Well,
to
if
say
8
it.
people, then why aren't 8 people standing up and saying, no, he called me a blah, blah, blah,
and
blah, and
that's
he
the
did
que-
this,
and that's
and
the question
he
we
did that,
asked.
and he did this. Well, if 8 people, I think they kind of, I think it was it all started with me, proposing adjustments to standing committees, which, by the way, your theory doesn't work that well, because if you go to the community charter and look up councillors' duties, guess what one of their duties is?
Terms of reference.
No, to be on committees.
Yes.
When they're selected to be on committee, that's
Yeah.
part of their
Yeah, but
thing.
this-
So if they decide
if
to
they-
not go on a,
There's no committees
up.
if they resign.
No, I got to text
Council's
Wallace.
duty.
We're going to be long
No,
here.
no. The thing is, here's what, and you also think that as a mayor you must form the committees. No, you don't. The next word in that line in the community charter, section 21, I think, or 14, is if the mayor must form a standing committee if you think an issue needs to be looked in more deeply. Standing committees don't need to be formed. They weren't beforehand. And if they are formed, they must have at least 50% elected representation. Now, if all the councillors resign tomorrow from the standing committees, there's no standing committees because the charter doesn't allow them without 50% of elected representatives. That's what I'm saying.
Somebody do me a favor, go to the community charter right now and look up councillors' responsibilities.
Yeah, but there's nothing in there that says they can't resign from it. In fact, I called the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and they told me that if the councillors resign, and Maria Mazzata confirmed this, if they resign, there's no committees. They can form their own select committees.
Then they're breaching the
No,
community
they're
charter.
not.
'Cause-
No, they're not. They're not. With all due respect, you're wrong.
Mike,
they're
can you
not.
find that, please, for me? There's a line there that says
They're not.
part of their duties.
Mike's looking
the
at the
councillors'
tire string.
duties.
Yes.
It's about 4 down.
But they can resign. There's nothing stopping them from resigning.
Why would they?
According to your corporate
Okay,
officer
then
who knows this
again,
stuff.
why would they? Why would they not want to?
No, that's another argument.
No,
I'm just
okay,
saying,
then let's take that argument. Why would they not want to be on a committee to help the city of Kamloops?
Because because you know what my column said, and I think it might come to fruition.
I never read your column.
Well, you just said you disagree with my. You said
No, I saw you on the show. I watched a little bit.
It was based on the
somebody
column.
was saying, "Look at these guys. Who are these guys?"
The column said that the first select committee meeting to talk about how to get the terms of reference was a bit of a gong show again, because you disagreed with them. You voted against 2 of the motions on there. And I said at some point the councillors might say, we can't work with the mayor. We're going to resign from the standing committees. We're going to form select committees that are exactly the same, and we're going to get the shit done in the city, and we're not going to have the mayor involved. I'm saying that's what they might do.
And if they do,
that's what I'm
okay, but
I'm
I'm just saying,
that's what I'm just thinking, right?
Let them talk.
If they do, that's fine. Go to the community charter and look at the mayor's duties and the councillor's duties. And it says right in there that they've got to be on committees that are appointed to them.
It doesn't say anything about them. They can resign too.
It doesn't say anything about them being able to resign. Why would they resign?
Because we just talked about they may not agree with how you were running things. You know, they didn't
How
agree
I
with
was
that.
running things.
Yes. You appointments.
How I was running things.
Why were they paused?
Oh,
They were paused.
No, didn't you hear Corporate Officer Mazzotta said, no, we're not pausing the community charter?
No, not the
Well, they
charter.
are.
The committees were paused. They are paused right now.
No kidding.
Yes.
You think?
Well, why would?
Well, actually, you know what? I guess.
That goes to your question. You say, why would they quit? Why would they pause them? Why are they paused?
You tell me. You know why? Because people didn't like me making any adjustments where I felt they needed adjustments. And by the way, Kelly Hall talks about me on him. You guys are the ones that told me that originally he was hammering on me back in the day when they were looking for the committees. They were oh, we need to get these committees going. We're doing nothing. But either way, those committees, and like I said,
No, he said that in a newspaper article. Yeah.
long before I ever did anything.
Yeah.
And like I said, when I see people all over the streets laying out there, crime going on, and I asked, Councillor Hall early on, have you got a select committee going for the right? And well, I don't think we need it. And I said, well, come on,
No, I know we've been through that.
Yeah.
We've been through that. Yeah, for sure.
Shelters, Merit Place, extended.
2 more years.
And Stuart Wood. Thoughts?
My thoughts are that we need shelters. Operations of shelters, I really think that we've got to step it up. I mean, we can't. The business is up around the Merit shelter, and I mean, even the Out of the Cold runs a good shelter, but still, BC Housing, I think, needs to step up and get some more outreach workers on the streets around the area. I mean, Dennis Walsh is, his house just about burnt down the other day.
Former councillor, lives right by Stuart Wood.
Yeah,
Yep.
3-time councillor. We need to really step it up. I mean, big. There's people going in and out of the cemetery up there, and I know that the people at Winners and the stereo or the cell shop across the street. It just needs to be managed properly, and it's accountability. We need to be accountable.
So as mayor, because some people online are saying, well, the mayor ran on this cleaning up the city mandate, and you did. The shelter up at the Old Greyhound has been very heavily criticized. The people there are really up to their.
So's the Emerald.
But I'm talking about that one. Now it's for 2 more years. What are you as mayor going to do to change things up there? If nothing changes, those people are going to go through 2 more years of hell, aren't
Well,
they?
as a matter of fact, I've got Chrissy right now getting Ravi Calon's number, and I'm going to pick up the phone and ask him again if he'll look at doing an independent review. I've talked to Peter and Todd about it. We've been talking about this since 2020. Again, a review for the residents and clients in the building, for the staff, and for the surrounding communities. And if you can't afford to do that, how can you afford to buy a burnt out, kind of not a very good property on the North Shore for $12 or $13 million? We've got to do something different, and the other thing too, I think we really got to start looking at recovery focused facilities. We've got to
More
to
recovery.
really have a
Would you
look
rather
at that.
the lease not be signed? Does it fly against your campaign goals that this lease has been signed? Would you rather it not have been signed for the extension?
Well, I don't know. I didn't have any choice in that matter. But I think that I think that it needs to be operated properly and people being accountable. Like a shelter is a place that people go, you know, if they get out of jail, if you have a domestic dispute, you know, everything, you know, they're supposed to vat them there, you know, they're supposed to find out where they want to go, what they want to do, you know. When I hear these point in time counts, that they're doing a point in time count from 9 in the morning till 6 o'clock at night.
Last week.
And in a shelter from 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, it's bizarre to me and when somebody tells me that you don't want to do one more because you're going to traumatize the people by talking to them, well, I got to tell you, there's 5 people sitting right out front of City Hall right now. When you sit down on a log on a beach and talk to them, or sit down on a bench and talk to them, you don't have to talk. You can say, how you doing? And you can sit there for a day, and they want to tell you.
We did that last 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, they want to tell you, right?
Can we end on a positive? Give us some positive.
I'm going to give you a positive. You know what? Brenda Bailey and our had 2 ministers, one from federal government and provincial, and you know, there's some good grant funding. Matter of fact, they talked a little bit about it to Mike before coming in the door. We've got a young couple was in my office the other day who are going to be want to manufacture clothes in Kamloops, a clothing line, which I think is awesome. You know, there's a lot of good things on the go. You know.
What else? There's got to be more. That's good.
I don't know. I've been focusing on this. You've
been bogged down?
I want to. Yeah, I've been a little bogged down. Yeah, but I really want to focus on. I think I mentioned it in council yesterday. I mean, come on. I've got pictures of, you know, we had a girl last council meeting was in tears, you know, and you know, I go by the Ask Wellness building on the North Shore, and there's buggies all over the place. Like, come on. They don't want to be there. And yet you take the Spiro House just down the road. It's got an empty parking lot. It's huge.
In the back.
We got to start working together. You know, it's the same as this. You know, it's the same as this. You know, this bylaw we're trying to put through. I don't know why we would put one through thinking it's going to fail anyway. But I think
the drug use.
like we've already got laws in place that we don't.
What's your take on the bylaw? The bylaw thing.
What do you think of Katie Newstater's idea? Do you understand why she's doing this? Like she understands it might not work, but it's put a message out there that the city doesn't want this going on.
Yeah, I kind of thought that she would have. I didn't know, but I thought she would have maybe talked to the Interior Health a little bit, because you know they're going to have the final say anyway. So.
And they're pushing back big time.
Well, sure, but they're going to have the say. You know, I mean, there's other cities that have tried it. In Campbell River, they tried it and stopped it, and I'm looking into it. I'm going to meet with Carol Fenton and have a couple other meetings and look into it, because, like I say, we've got laws in place right now we aren't enforcing, and that was before.
Decrim.
The decrim, that was before. I mean, you know, people sitting out front of City Hall drinking and smoking and doing up drugs, and I mean, in one of our, our Community Protective Services division said back before the decrim that it wasn't illegal to do drugs out front of buildings when it actually is. So I think that we got to check on, you know, and again, I'm going to be meeting with RCMP and talking about, you know, having more enforcement, and the other thing too is in Kamloops we've got to, you know, and get people working together. Like, it's not, we've got more than one safe injection site. Maybe we've just got to see if
we have 2.
We've got
one's on Lansdowne, one's on Tranquil.
No, we've got lots more than that. We've in every government subsidized facility.
Well, those are officially overdose prevention sites is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it doesn't matter if it's the Crossroads or the Rose Thorn or the Emerald or the Mission Manor or the Spiro House. We've got lots of safe injection sites. Okay, we've got lots. Now, if we can all work together and allow those, and they're all governments, so they're all our money. They're all ours, right? They're all ours. If we can open those to the public so that you can go to the Crossroads and use safely.
And not have to be a resident you're talking about.
If you can go, if public can use those safe injection sites,
go do their drugs under supervision so they don't die.
Right. Yeah. So, and we're in one way we're fortunate, like I said, that we do have several safe injection sites, and safe injection sites aren't that hard to put together. I mean, you know, they've got one up at the Stuart Wood School. You guys were there, right?
That was good. I enjoyed that.
They got one there.
They have a room there where people go and use, and they watch them on the video in case something happens. It's very, very well, very secure for the person.
So it wouldn't be that hard to get more.
No,
we've got the one.
It doesn't seem to be, no.
Right. So then now you've got place where they can use, so that, you know, kind of takes care of that.
We got a mom and a baby they're on our show next.
Jessica's
we can't
here.
keep her waiting.
Okay, I gotta go.
You gotta go. You're out of here. I was gonna say one more thing though. Just what were your thoughts? Because we haven't talked since we went on our walkabout there in the morning. So, Mike, what was your takeaways from that?
You know, it was early in the morning. I usually get home at that time from doing gigs, but it was really great to go out and see, and I really respected what Out in the Cold was doing, and I felt like I learned a lot, actually. And I've always been empathetic to what's going on, but I'd like to figure out how I can help out more from our trip.
And you know what, you guys, what we should be able to do is we should be able to go into any shelter. If you want to help, you want to volunteer, and there are people that do. You heard Kelly Thompson say about volunteers that want to keep. We should be able to go into the Moray shelter.
If
We should be able to go
we're
into the Emerald
invited,
shelter.
if we're invited.
Right, but we should. Why wouldn't we be invited?
Well-
We're citizens that want to help here. We've got a bit of an issue here. We should be able to go into any of those. Why wouldn't we?
But I'm sure there are rules that some of these places haven't. You have to be trained in certain areas, or there's a lot of reasons. I mean, going into the shelter was great. It was educational.
So you guys did. You're glad you got up?
You barely got up.
Are you glad you came?
Too many red wines.
Like
the
I
night
said, like I said before, it's not my
Almost,
first.
he was trying to bail.
No, no, it wasn't.
And I said, no, hang on, I'll go get him.
No, it wasn't my first rodeo. What I'm saying is, it's not that we haven't done this before. I've done this before. It was good. It was really good. In fact, the most interesting thing about that was Kat. Remember the lady?
Yeah, I do.
I found out what that thing was.
I saw that. Yeah,
I found out what it was. It was.
And the one thing you did learn too, one thing that you didn't take out of that very good, but it's like I said, we were down on Tronk Road, and there was a guy laid out all his paraphernalia all out there, and he was out there, and everybody drives by and calls him homeless.
Mm-hmm.
Where did he live?
He lived in a Sparrow House. That's right.
Right.
He was just out on a walkabout having a smoke, and just he was fine. he was doing his thing.
We call them homeless though,
Well, he
and we do
looked
because
homeless, yeah.
there's people that are on the streets that live at the Rose Thorn, or they
Mm-hmm.
live at the Mission Manor, or the Crossroads, and we drive by. The problem is we're not using the day lodges that we got, the wraparound services we're not using that they're supposed to have, and we need to do that. And that's why I'm going to be looking at doing recovery facilities too. So I'm going to be.
Well, I think recovery.
I just got to get a few more votes on my side. So can you help me out?
I think recovery is the way to go.
It's one way to go. Yeah.
It's an important way to go.
Yeah,
It's one of the pillars.
You bet. Yeah, you bet it is. Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. We're going to move on. It's
Thanks for not arguing with me.
well, we argued a little bit. You want
Little
to
bit.
shake hands? Okay. Okay. The next segment is
I'll rate something totally different about
Above the
me as soon as I
Folds with Jessica Wallace. It's brought to you by McDonald's. Thank you, Reid.
leave. Jessica Wallace is here.
Yeah.
You say hi to her. She got her baby.
The baby. Oh yeah.
Jessica, baby Joe.
Yeah, Joseph's here. Thanks for having us.
I see you on social media. I see Instagram. I see Facebook, and you just look so happy. What's this time of life like for you?
Yeah, it just feels like life has started again. I mean, happiness is not even close to how it's just, yeah, it's emotional to even talk about because it really felt like life was on pause for a little while for us while we were trying to have a baby, and it was not something that we were kind of willing to let go of. So we kept trying, and it really felt like everything had stopped and we were on pause, and now life has started again, and it's better than I could have even imagined. Like, it's just amazing. Yeah.
We were on the sidelines kind of rooting and feeling sad for you. It's years of hardship, of losses, and the day that you came out of that hospital, I mean, describe the feeling.
Yeah, I think I touched on it in the column that ran the paper last week. I was just singing all the way home. I mean, there was nothing else to it. There was so much relief. There was so much happiness. Even, it's a little bit of a blur in the day or two after when you're kind of trying to figure out how to be a parent. There's breastfeeding, and you're like, what's going on here? And you're sleep deprived. You just went through labor. But as soon as they basically gave us our clean bills of health, both Joseph and myself, and told us we could go home, I was just bawling. Like, it was just so much relief. I didn't know how much I had been holding on to still, even leading up to, after he was born, just thinking, no, there's got to be a catch here. Like, something still could go wrong. I don't believe this is going to happen. And yeah, basically, as soon as they told us we could go home, we were singing, we were happy, we were, all the way up 6th Avenue home, and we were so lucky to be greeted by our moms who are, happy too.
Actually, there was some kind of refrain. What was it again that you talked about?
We're going home. We're going home. Yeah, that's how it went.
You wanted to talk about a couple things. Your column, you touched on some great things, healthcare workers, and then there's some other things that weren't so great looking into the future. But why don't we start with just the props and some of the stuff you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so the column, I wanted to kind of, I guess, tie it up because it was such a depressing thing a few years ago that I wrote, and kind of give maybe some people who are going through some of that hope, but also wanted to thank the healthcare workers who really kept us going. Like, there were so many times when we were close to just being on the edge of giving up, and this little interaction with this person who lifted you up, or that person, or healthcare workers we've heard all the stories in the media about some of the challenges they're facing with staffing and all that kind of thing. But so here's a perfect example. I'm in labor in the hospital. They're short-staffed in the maternity ward. A maternity nurse stayed and worked overtime so I could get an epidural.
Yeah.
So think about that. That's
Yeah.
pain relief for a patient. If she didn't stay, my understanding is that I may not have gotten that epidural.
Wow.
So that's pretty crazy to
Yeah.
think about.
Yeah.
So she made a choice, and who knows what her life situation is at home, what she was giving up to give something to me. I just want to say thank you to the healthcare workers for, over the last few years, we saw that time and time again. Also, the TRFO news is pretty alarming. We're pretty worried about prenatal care for people who don't have family doctors. What would our care have looked like if we didn't have really good care? Maybe we wouldn't have him, right? So
What does that stand for again?
the Thompson Region Family Obstetrics Group.
It's a clinic at the hospital that is just for pregnant women, and it may close this summer because they just are what?
They're short-staffed, and they've had some people leave, and basically they are having a hard time recruiting people because there's no pay to be on call, and you have to be on call for 24-hour shifts.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a family doctor, you're not incentivized to do labor and delivery because you have to be on call for 24 hours and they're paid per service. So do you, as a busy family doctor who can turn people away, you're so busy, do you want to really be working through the night? No. You want to have a more stable lifestyle. That would be the appeal. So they're having a hard time recruiting people at a time when obstetricians are also at a premium, and the shortage of healthcare workers
And they're
everywhere.
not taking any more patients right now.
No. So where are they going?
So there's 100,000 people in Kamloops, and there's 40,000 without a family doctor. If you're a woman who's 20, 25, 30, and you don't have a family doctor, and you get pregnant tomorrow, where do you go?
Exactly.
You don't have a family
That's
doctor.
the question.
They won't take you. They're not taking anymore. There's no walk-in clinics anymore. There's the RIH emergency room, and then there's the urgent care clinic, which you have to call at 10 in the morning
always busy.
to get
never get in.
to get an appointment that night or the next day or the day after. But I'm just thinking, where does a pregnant woman go? Because you gotta have a file. You have to have people check up on you. You can't have a pregnant woman who's 7, 8 months sitting in the ER next to people with stab wounds for 10 hours. It's a bizarre situation.
It is really bizarre, and there's a petition that has started, and I
Yes.
actually just met the woman who started it, Amanda, and her last name fails me because I have baby brain.
She gave it to our MLAs to introduce into the legislature, I think.
Yeah, I met her at Mother Goose, and she told me that she knows somebody who's traveling to Salmon Arm right now.
Yes.
For prenatal care, which is crazy.
Yeah. That's a beluga baby.
Yeah, I wanted to say this is a pretty cool shout out because this baby wearing thing is the best. Look at him, he's just passed out right now.
Yeah, I'm going to take a
Nobody
video
can
of
see.
him that I can...
But the woman who runs this just moved to Kamloops. So I didn't know that until I met her at one of these mommy groups. And essentially, these things are a hot commodity because you go into the West Coast Kids store in Vancouver and they're sold out. So it's pretty cool to have someone who is in this community living in Kamloops. I just thought that would give a little Kamloops shout out.
Good shout out.
Yeah.
One more thing before you go. You're a reporter at heart. Give us your thoughts on city council and the mayor. What's on your mind? Is it tough to sit back and watch, and just whatever you want to talk about?
I just think it seems kind of exhausting right now. As someone who, is lacking sleep sometimes, this whole situation seems pretty tiresome. I'll note, there's been lots written. Chris has written some columns, and I saw that Mel Rothenberger has written some columns too. And just, I'll note that the Globe and Mail covered the press conference that those councillors held. So the dysfunction is actually receiving national news right now, which is kind of embarrassing, really.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? We're talking about council drama. And so what I'm seeing, I guess, is like a bunch of individuals. We're seeing this person wants this person's saying this. We're not seeing a lot of team work and camaraderie. So what does that come down to? I think that comes down to a lack of leadership and bringing, the whole group together. So you don't think that there were issues with the last council? There definitely were. There were things that happened that I heard about that people wouldn't go on the record and talk about. What Ken Christian would do is he would bring somebody into his office, he would nip it in the butt, he would talk to them, and guess what? At the end of the day, there'd be some grumblings. But they'd all get together and they would stand there with all different political stripes as one unit. Are you seeing that right now? No, you're going... Bill Sarai is probably like the most aligned, I would say, with Reid in terms of politics. And I would have thought, based on the last election and all the councillors that were elected, that he would have maybe had enough political alignment with some of the councillors to get some stuff done. But it seems like he's kind of alienated some people. You hear Bill like criticizing him on the radio. There's so much squabbling, and I just really feel like, I don't know. It stresses me out to think about covering this because I don't want to be in the middle of a reality television show. Like, what are the issues right now?
Just think about the rocking chair reporter segment, though, because that was insightful. That was good. Bring Baby Joe on maybe once a month. We'll get you on here. You can give us your take. But you must be loving life, not having to worry about things. I mean, do you miss it? Or are you just happy doing what you're doing? And
I go in waves of like being pretty plugged in and then kind of tuning it out a little bit. It's fun. Like, he's starting to talk a bit more. Like, I'm calling them our squawkersations. He's like, wah, and I go, wah, and then he kind of talks back to me now. So before I used to listen to the radio a lot. I still do, but because he was more of like a little sack of potatoes who just ate, fed, and sleep.
Yeah.
And now he's becoming more interactive, so I don't know. I miss it, but I don't miss it. Like, I'm just really appreciating this time that we have together. It's just a really special time after everything. So I miss you guys. I miss everybody here.
Well, we appreciate it this time right now.
Thanks.
But we have to move on because we have Terry Lowe waiting. It's in the title of Hastings. It's brought to you by Volkswagen.
Oh, wait, one last thing. The paper looks awesome. You guys are doing a great job.
Good job, folks.
Pick up my paper. There's this guy on our street who goes and walks every Wednesday to grab his paper from the little box at the end of the street, and it's looking really good. We pick one up, we put it in the bottom of our stroller, so good job.
Maybe you could stroll it out to Reid Hamer-Jackson's house because he's not getting his paper right now. He complained to us.
Oh, he's not? Oh, no.
I got to get on that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot. Terry Lowe.
Hello.
Deep down in the bowels.
It was hard to get in here. There's secret entrance.
It is very hard, yeah.
You have to be escorted in.
You have to know the secret word, that's right.
Yeah.
You are the owner of Volkswagen of Kamloops.
Yes.
But you're here to talk about the Turtle River Race.
Yeah, it's a fundraiser we've been doing now for 22 years. And raised money for different charities over that time. Started with way back in the day, raised funds for the wildlife park for their playground and for the pediatric Playmore Royal Lindros Hospital. Then we moved to Boys and Girls Club and Western Canada Theatre, and of course now we're raising funds for the Christmas Cheer Fund. So first of all, they're not real turtles. Lots of people ask, do you raise real turtles? No, they're little plastic turtles that they're specially formulated. They're weighted on the bottom, and they're all numbered and they corresponding to the tickets. And so normally the race is in September,
That's right.
but we partnered with the Kamloops Brain Injury Association, and they have a major fundraiser in September, so they've moved it to May. So we're less than a month out now, so we're just trying to push the ticket sales so we can raise money for their charity. Yeah.
And you want to issue a challenge, I understand.
Well, there's a corporate challenge. Yeah. So basically, if you buy a ticket, you're entered for all the prizes in the race. But we have a special for the businesses in Kamloops. So if you buy a book of 10 tickets, it's $100. There's 2 races, so we're encouraging businesses to put $200 aside, get 10 tickets in each race. And then not only do you get a chance to win those prizes, but you go into a special draw, and then you can get some promotion for your business. So the Cheryl and Rich from the morning show at B100, you get to co-host with them if you win. And
that's a good idea.
And there's a little castanet advertising advertising package, and then next year maybe it'll be Kamloops Last Week will be.
Hey, there we go.
That's right.
You never know.
Business right here.
Absolutely, we could do that. Yeah, for sure.
Will Tara Holmes be in a dunk tank at any time?
We're trying to get her into a kayak to pick up the turtles because, of course, we've got to pick them up.
Oh, yeah.
But she's scared of tipping. So.
Yeah.
Also at restaurants.
That's true. Yeah.
So this takes place on.
I had a question.
Yeah.
How many corporate challengers do you have so far? Have you started that?
Yes, we have started that.
Because look at this.
Whoa! Whoa! Ed, it's on
That
a
was
magic
so much
mirror.
cooler in my head how that was going to play out.
What you don't know is he just threw pesos. Anyway.
I will take up on that challenge and I will buy a book of tickets
All
for my
right.
staff.
Well,
So,
thank you.
There you go.
You get to see it in person too. That's the magic mirror brought to you by Volkswagen, right there. So thank you for sponsoring our show. How do you think it looks, Terry?
It looks awesome, yeah. But I thought he was in a different room. I thought he was like,
Oh,
It's
yeah.
the magic of Magic Mike.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
And his entourage, I didn't know there was an entourage.
There is.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What about like there's a barbecue? Did you talk about that already?
No, the day. Yeah, let's talk about the day of. So it's Sunday, May 7th.
Sunday, May 7th.
Noon to 3.
Noon to 3. The
Riverside or Pioneer?
Riverside.
Riverside,
So
right.
just come. You can't miss us. We'll be by the band shell that the new. Well, actually, the pier. The pier is a finishing point.
Right.
So it's a great vantage for kids, families, to stand on the pier. We have a finish line. So the first race is at 1 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
They take about 15, 20 minutes, and then we gather those up and we put the second batch in. And we race the second batch at 2 o'clock, and then the Rotary Club's doing a barbecue by donation again for the charity. So
Nice.
yeah.
I see a lot of sponsors on there. How much cake are you gonna raise for this thing?
Well, we'd obviously like to sell out. If we sell out, like the majority of the prize board is donated, so that's fabulous. That's why there's
Yeah.
so many sponsors, because whatever we have to buy takes away from the charity. So all of these sponsors is 100% donated. So it raises about $25,000 for the charity, which is kind of cool. So over the 20 odd years we've been doing it, so almost $500,000 spread around
cool.
charities around the city. So.
Yeah.
Between years, where did the turtles live?
Well, for the last 22 years, they've resided in the mezzanine of Volkswagen.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided after doing it this long, we want to support it. Obviously, we're the main sponsor. But Kamloops Brain Injury, this is the first year they're housing them and sorting them. And
How many could fit into a VW Bug? Because I
There-
think it was a
that should be a
25
contest.
people can, right? Isn't
You
it?
can do the contest. Sell some. You know how the 50-50 tickets. You sell extra tickets and you see how much they fill in the.
there
bug.
is actually a contest going on right now. There's a bag of these at select Save-Ons. And if you go into Save-On and you guess how many turtles are in the bag, there's a prize
at that.
package
There you
for
go.
that.
Hitting all the
About
marks
that.
here.
That's good.
One last thing before you go. Pickleball challenge.
Yes, I'm in.
You're in.
I'm in.
So you team up with Tara's husband and you two play her and Franca. Is that how it normally works?
Yeah. So my ex-wife Tara, her friend Franca, they're on a team. They say they're slightly better than us, but proof's in the pudding. So her new husband and I, and we don't know when her third husband's coming. I don't know how we'll have him in the next.
He could be here right now. You
But
never
right
know.
now, yeah, he could be in this room.
Well, Marty's still looking, right?
Yeah. I'll give you advice. Don't look.
Don't look that way.
Don't look that way.
I don't know how long Chris LaRouche has lasted. Only that he's the nicest guy in Kamloops. That's
Yeah.
probably how got him going.
That's right, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Does that make you jealous? He thinks that Chris LaRouche is the nicest guy in Kamloops.
Well, he's a nice guy. Isn't
Yeah, Chris and I are both nice, and that's probably why we weren't smart enough to get out earlier. But, no, I'm just teasing.
he? Well, you escaped.
I escaped. Yeah. No, we're good friends, and the pickleball is a great sport. It's kind of funny. I'm in Run Club as well, and we were running at Riverside because Boogie's this weekend, and you see all the pickleballs down there, and it's funny. Some cities have trying to ban pickleball
That's
because
right.
of the noise.
Yeah, the noise. Yeah,
And,
that's right. Yeah, too close to residences.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Oh,
It's
right.
all over the news.
Yeah.
It's because it's getting so popular.
Yeah.
We go down every week. We play at Riverside, and then McDonald when it gets light enough. A group
Well, I
of
do
us.
hope the
It's
tennis
so much
players
fun.
aren't getting run out of town. I'll say that about you pickleballers. I hope you're not dominating too much.
Well, there's hardly anyone at the tennis courts when we go play.
Yeah.
It's morphing, aging population, right? It's a more fun game. It's a lot more forgiving. But we should play when we do play. We should play before that. But I understand Tara has some kind of phobia about playing at the regular pickleball courts. You guys have your own net that
We have our own
you
nets.
take to True and other places
we take
to play.
to TRU to play at. She
Yeah.
doesn't want to be interacting with other people.
It's odd, eh?
Well, I
Yeah.
think though that's good to know, because I know we're running along here. Mike's probably pissed off. He's so mad. We need to find a location to do this thing.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not do it at a public venue, because what if people are there when we put on this event? So maybe we can put the court somewhere within a location that can help us out, right?
You know, Tara has a cousin who has a pickleball court on their property just east of the city. I
yes.
should ask about that.
Yes,
They had
yes.
a big
Yeah.
family thing this
Yeah, we
last
had
year.
the family
The
reunion.
Bells.
I'm just saying to the camera. That's,
That might be something. We should talk to Tara about that if we haven't already burnt the bridges with her. Yeah.
And one quick last thing.
Yep.
Thank you for being a corporate. If any businesses want to be involved, they can just call me at Volkswagen. We've got tickets there. We'll even get Tara to deliver them. We'll make it super easy. And
I've got $40 on me right now. How much? What's,
value packs, 3 for $25. You want a
Well,
value
I'll buy
pack?
before you go. I'll get some tickets. Terry, this has been fun. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
Thank you. What do you think about the show?
Good show. Good show. It was always good to have the mayor on because he always elicits response, positive and negative, from the people who watch the show. He's good. He's passionate about what he's doing. Some things he says we don't agree with. Some things he says is not factually correct, and but he is he's in it, and he's trying to do what he thinks is best. I think Jessica had a point. And I think I've said this to Reid, and I think you have and others, that as the mayor, you have to show leadership and you have to get people together. I don't know how you do it, but you got to do it. And so far, he hasn't done it. So, you know, we have 3 more years. Maybe
Still
he'll
time.
do it. Yeah, there's lots
still
of time.
time.
There's 42 months until the next election. There's lots of time.
Mike, the Magic Mayor, any thoughts from you? Good to have you back.
Happy to be back. Got to put my nose down to the grindstone because I got a ton of orders and lots of cool things going on. Big distribution deal. Get this: America, Mexico, Latin America, Australia, Indonesia, and Germany, all with PV Electronics distributing our products.
Wow.
And we're the first brand that PV has distributed that they didn't own.
Wow.
Very, very cool.
Very, very cool.
So that's, I mean, do
We
you
were
have the
buzz of
staff here?
show. We're hiring. We're going to
Yeah.
be hiring. We're going to be growing. We're investing.
That's what we need in the city. That's what we need in Kamloops,
We need that in Kamloops, yeah.
right?
Well, Sycamoose is going to be loving it, aren't they?
Sycamoose
Sycamoose tax
have
base
some
is going to love
investment
it.
into
Absolutely.
We're not leaving Kamloops,
No.
but you know, we are still manufacturing here in Kamloops.
Yeah.
But we are going to be adding some capacity in Sycamoose.
We'll make that clear. This is a Kamloops business. It still is. It's not going anywhere. There's just a kind of an expansion in Siki.
in Siki.
Okay, we're almost at 400 subscribers now. Very close. We also have some room on the sponsorship team. We want to expand that as well. We have our wonderful sponsors already. We have Volkswagen of Kamloops. They're a segment sponsor. They sponsor the Magic Mirror, brought to you by Volkswagen. We have McDonald's. They're a segment sponsor as well.
Ba 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 ba.
And we have Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center. They are a co-title sponsor. We can't do it without them. We have room for one more co-title sponsor. So if you're interested, if you like the show, we cover local things. We talk about news, sports, business. You share wild opinions and get mad about many things.
And music.
And music. And you run hot a lot. If that's what you like. If you like Reid, if you don't like Reid, lots of viewers. People see your business. So contact me at klw@kamloopsthisweek.com and we'll talk. For all our sponsors, for Christopher Folds, Greg the Engineer, Magic Mike Bennett, and Bill, we'll see you last week.
Last.